Talking about South Africa's interim budget and looking at aspects of Minister Pravin Gordhan's speech. So we've spoken about the deficit, the fiscal deficit, as well as the current account deficit, and the revenue side down 5 billion rand this year compared with what was budgeted. And let's have a look at what he said about public spending in the year or so ahead.
The largest share of consolidated expenditure goes to the education function, which will spend 234 billion rands next year, including allocations for arts and culture, support and sport and recreation. In order to get our children off to the best possible start in life, we will continue to increase funding for the Grade R year, and the School Infrastructure Backlogs program will be stepped up. Healthcare accounts for 132 billion rands in next year's spending plans. Funding will be provided for an improved diagnostic test for TB, additional allocations for the HIV and AIDS program, and continued investment in hospitals and health infrastructure. Our longer-term phasing in the national health insurance will significantly broaden the social wage, giving effect to government's commitment to improving the country's health indicators through a better resourced, better managed, and fairer health system. Social protection spending is projected to be about 136 billion rands next year, comprising social assistance grants, unemployment insurance, road accident benefits, and various social development and welfare services. The number of grant beneficiaries is expected to rise to 17 million by 2015. The budget will include funding for increased employment of social workers and improved funding for non-governmental welfare organizations.
Peter Todman-Talter in London, you referred earlier to that very vital shift that we need away from current spending to capital spending. The fact is that we're spending more on servicing our debt than we are on capex. So any evidence here that we are making that shift?
Well, the numbers are penciled into the budget, definitely, and we heard there are a few additional spending additions that Pravin Gordhan was just talking about, but the broad thing the market cares about basically is the cap on overall expenditure and no new changes there. But I think basically we didn't see today any sort of real renewed pressure on infrastructure and on capital spending that the President Zuma was talking about last week in response to obviously the mining situation and the need for additional job creation via infrastructure. That money clearly isn't available in the budget and couldn't be made available in the medium-term budget today. So yeah, there's a slight rotation going on there.
Peter, we'll have to cut you there, unfortunately. Peter Todman-Talter from Merwe in London. Stephen, very briefly, is there support here between fiscal and monetary policy? We had the inflation numbers out yesterday and today. Are the two complementary and going in the right direction?
Yes, very confusing signals. CPI printing well above expectation, PPI printing well below expectation. CPI seems to be driving the market at the moment. We're starting to price out the chance of a rate cut. Albeit we're still, I'd say, 15–20% chance of a rate cut going into next year.
Right.
RMB still holds to 50 beeps early next year.
You're sticking with your views.
Yeah.
Stephen, thank you very much. Stephen Charles is from RMB. Nicholas, thank you for your time as well. Nicholas Sorrell is from SASFA.